Hey, how y'all doing? Back again with another episode of the It Factor, man. Today I have my brother. Actually, I just found out my frat brother, man. How you doing, man? Introduce yourself, man.
So everyone, my name is Kyle Woumn, originally from Atlanta. Um, Grew up there. Now I live in the Bay Area. Been out here for about 4 years, and I create dope technology for the culture. And I'm currently the head of technology for a company called Overflow, where we're working to make generosity frictionless, starting with making it super easy to donate stock to nonprofits.
Okay, bet, man. So that's going into the first question, bro. So what tech have you been able to create for the culture? Like, I know that's your like slogan and everything. I kind of just want to know a little bit more about it.
Yeah, so for the culture, some like tech that I've created, the biggest one I would say is a web app called Drakestagram. So that's probably the biggest thing. And so what Drakestagram was, well, I noticed there were a lot of people that would post, Drake lyrics as their Instagram captions on IG.
Right.
Sometimes people would get real lazy with it, and they'll just be like, "Insert Drake caption here." And so I'm like, "Oh man, I need to help these people." And I'm a big Drake fan myself, and
Mhm.
so it all started when I was in Vancouver. I just went there for like a few days for like a weekend, and Drake was actually there. He had his like tour in Vancouver. I didn't meet him, but I actually saw him like the week before in Oakland. Like I went to his concert. So this is when he was on the Migos on the tour with Migos. It was like Arbor and the Three Migos. So he just happened to be in Vancouver the same week, and I was there. And I was like, this would be just a cool, fun idea. I love like like the intersection of technology and culture, and
Mhm.
so I didn't really have time to do it. This is like a November 2018. So then, like December 2018, I'm back home in Atlanta for the holidays. I have a bit of free time. I'm away from like the hustle and bustle, and I started working on this project called Drakestagram, and it was pretty cool. I started off by there was like an API, like some service out there called Music Match that will let you like pull the lyrics, but then Music Match was trying to charge me
Oh,
like
no.
$200, something like that. So I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna have to scrape the lyrics. So I
Mhm.
scraped the lyrics off of Genius, and I launched it January 1st, 2019 on New Year's, and it got like an overwhelming response. Went viral. A lot of people like to this day, people still use it. I have like metrics on it, and there's been like over 17,000 like organic searches, like no paid ads or anything like that. So that was like my biggest example of like creating dope technology for the culture.
That's amazing, bro. Cause like when I seen it, I'm a Drake fan too, music fan, bro. When I seen it, I was like, I do gotta learn more about this. Cause I even a question, bro. I was like, this lit, bro. Like, what is it, man? So now that you told me, I know my fans gonna be excited, and I'm excited too to learn more about it.
Drakestagram.com. Drakestagram.com.
Got you, bro. I'm gonna definitely check it out, man. So, how did you become a head of tech of Overflow? So how did you become a head of it?
Yeah, for sure. So I guess a little bit like to backtrack a little bit. Like I said, I'm from Atlanta. Went to Georgia Tech and studied computer science while I was there. And while I was at Georgia Tech, I interned at a company called Twilio. They're out in the Bay Area. They're a cloud communications company. Most people don't know what Twilio is, but I guarantee you've used it. If you ever gotten like text message or phone call from like your Uber driver or or an appointment reminder text or something like that, those all those like companies use Twilio to serve like to send out those communications, like the SMS or the voice. And so yeah, a lot of people don't know that, but it's like a multi-billion-dollar company. They went public in 2016. So I interned there 2015 and 2016.
Mhm.
It was like very small company when I joined, and then they went public in 2016, and I graduated Georgia Tech December 2016. So I came out to the Bay Area February 2017. I was working at Twilio on the messaging team as a software engineer.
Mhm.
But for me, the goal was always to be a tech entrepreneur. I'm
Oh,
like, that was one of my like biggest motivations for learning how to code was to be able to build like my own products. Thing like it's like if you can conceive it, you can build it.
built
There's
my
these exactly these days there's nothing out of the realm of possibilities. Like if you can think it, you can do it. So, but I really wanted to work at Twilio because get some experience. I really enjoyed the company too because I think it's it's really hard to join a company or to start a company when you've never worked for a company.
Yeah,
So I think that experience was like crucial. So I did that for about 3 years, and then I decided to leave Twilio, and a friend of mine was working on a company called Shopper, and
mhm.
Shopper was think Uber Eats for clothes. So it was like on-demand delivery for clothes. And this is like pre-pandemic though. This is like December 2019, last year.
Oh
And
wow.
so so we were early. We were early, and
Mhm.
so we were doing that for a little bit. It never really like took off. It was just one of those things where it's a very high capital intense company because, like, like we were the people delivering. It was three of us, and we were the ones that were like actually delivering to people. But it was like friends and family. But in order to make that like operationally efficient like kind of company, you had to have a lot of like
A lot of
capital
people
that
everywhere.
exactly. So we ultimately decided to not do that.
Mhm.
And so now I'm just like, what am I gonna do next? I left my job, right? And so I left my job. I'm like, huh. And so this is about May now, May this year. And a friend of mine, I actually met him through church. He's a pastor of the church I go to in San Francisco.
Mhm.
Young guy, 31, super cool. And he told me last year about his company called Overflow, which was in the nonprofit space. And I guess the origin story of how Overflow came about was Vive, that's the name of the church. They have a vision gala every November to talk about all the things that Vive has done and the things they're doing in the future. So one of the big accomplishments they recently did was like they helped pay off $19 million worth of medical debt for people in
Oh,
Chicago.
wow. That's a
Yeah,
blessing, man. That's a blessing.
exactly. And so a lot of people want to give to like the vision, but a lot of the people that go to Vive, they work at tech companies like Facebook, Google, because it's based in Palo Alto, and that's where like that's like the heart of
All the
Silicon Valley.
benefits there. Everything there.
Exactly. And so people wanted to give stock, and Vance saw that there was a gap there. Like right now, if you want to give stock, you have to print out a whole bunch of paperwork and you have to do that. And there's no way for you to actually give stock from Robinhood. And
Mhm.
so what we've done is we've created a super easy way for people to donate stock to nonprofits, as well as, donate from your Robinhood account, which has never been done before, Overflow. And
Wow,
so,
that's amazing. That's
yeah.
amazing. So
So,
you
so go
teaching
ahead.
me from a day. I didn't know that could happen, man. I didn't know you could do that. So that's amazing. Y'all do.
Yeah. And so like this really fit like when you asked the question about like how did I become head of technology, it was just one of those things where I've given stock before, and this is something that I feel has a big mission behind it, is mission driven. And so that was like an easy decision for me. I'm like, this is the thing that I'm
Right.
doing.
I got it, man. I really like that, bro. So basically, yeah. So how was it, being a software engineer before? You know.
Yeah. Yeah, and I still do software engineering like today, but starting off, and I would say I was very blessed because like my parents, they would always look for different like summer programs growing up.
Mhm.
Like I would say I grew up like lower middle class, but my parents would spend their last on when it comes to
Okay,
like
campus educated.
exactly like the summer program. So I did like one at Spelman. It was like a middle school, it was like a summer program, and it's crazy. Like one of the uh, like so she was a student at the time, but she was like kind of like helping out with the program, and like she was teaching us.
Mhm.
Like we reconnected. This is like 10 plus years later, and she's worked at all these tech companies like Apple,
Wow.
a bunch of them. So that was really cool to like reconnect with her. Her name's Whitney. But that's super dope. And so I would do like these various programs. So that's what sparked my initial interest in technology. And then when I went to Georgia Tech, I actually started off studying computer engineering.
Cool.
And then, and a lot of people that may not know, the big distinction between computer engineering and computer science is that computer engineering is like more hardware based. It's like embedded systems, what they call it. So like the full device, and like computer science is more just like strictly the software.
Mhm.
And so I started off as computer engineering, but the curriculum at Georgia Tech was very electrical engineering oriented, and you had to take classes like digital signal processing, and that wasn't for me. And and so I had a friend who got an internship after his freshman year at Google, and he was a computer science major, and I'm like, I want to do that. And so after about 1.5, 2 years as a computer engineering major, I switched to computer science. And I had an internship at GE like after my sophomore year. It was in Salem, Virginia, and I didn't know. Like, I mean, it was a good starter internship. It gave me experience, but it was like in the middle of nowhere, and they put me on like some project that that doesn't really matter
You know,
essentially.
yeah.
exactly. But I'm like, I'm grateful. I got to check that summer.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. So I got to check. And so I'm like, okay. And so I worked there. And then after that, I kind of vowed to myself, I was like, my next job I want to get is going to be out in like, SF Bay Area, Silicon Valley. But I always know like the interviews are always difficult. They have the coding interviews. They really like, those are tough. And so I got that book, Cracking the Coding Interview, which is, I have it on my bookshelf back here, but it's a very thick book, and it goes through like common like algorithm questions, or at least the concepts, and like the idea isn't for you to like memorize it, but it's just like to know what concepts to use when you see. And so I studied that, and I got lucky because Georgia Tech has a career fair every year. And so fall 2014, I'm there. All the big companies are there: Facebook, Google, Microsoft. And I've been in those lines before, and they're like, you stand in the line for like an hour and a half, you missing class and everything. And then when you get to the front, they just say apply online. And so I'm just like, yeah, I waited this whole time. And so
talk to me, ain't got no card. Like what?
Exactly. And so I'm like, okay. And so what I did was, I was like, okay, my approach this time is to go to smaller companies. So I had kind of heard of Twilio, but 2014, Twilio, no one outside of probably the Bay Area knew about Twilio. I barely knew about it. So it was a short line. I'm like on my phone in the line trying to look up what the company does. And then I talk to them. And I kind of have imposter syndrome too. I'm like the only Black person in the line. And then,
we here.
exactly. So I'm like, but I'm always gonna put myself out there. Cause I'd rather someone tell me no than me like psych myself out of it.
Yeah.
And so I get to the front of the line, and one of the guys that was recruiting, he was an engineer, and he went to Georgia Tech, but years before me, and I didn't know him. And we were talking. He asked me if I had any personal projects, and this is like pre Drakestagram. I didn't really code on the side before. And I was like, no, I don't have any personal projects, but it's not because I don't want any. It's because I'm busy with leadership organizations. I was very busy with, I was on the e-board of NSBE, our chapter at Georgia Tech, National Society of Black Engineers. Mm-hmm. And so I was like, it's not because I don't want to, but it's because I'm involved in all these things. And I think I was different. I stood out just because like I wasn't like the typical like tech nerd,
yeah,
if you will.
I want to do this and I know this much. And it's like, nah.
Exactly. And so like,
you would get the job. Like when you be yourself, you would get the job.
Exactly, man. And so they gave me the interview, got the job. And that's kind of how I kind of like really started as a software engineer. I would say that was like my first real role. And I learned so much at Twilio, more than I would probably even learned at school and like computer science, I would admit.
That's how
like that real practical experience.
You just dropped so much knowledge right then, though, because I thought I read the breaking the code in the interview. And in reading that, I was just like, wow, man, I got to learn this. I got to know this. But to see it before going into the interviews kind of helped me, even my job I had today kind of helped me know that like, get out of that discomfort zone to be able to do the interviews. Because the interview is only half of it. It's like your personality really what people want to see for the most part. So
it's like you can teach someone anything, but it's like, is this the type of person I want to work with and see every day,
Right. Do I want to see him every day? So how is it being in Silicon Valley, man? Like how's the startup like?
Yeah, like it's really interesting. And so like, there was a big allure that, that made me want to come out here. I'm like, okay, this is like the heart of technology, heart and soul of technology. This is where you hear all these like billion-dollar companies. So like my first few years, it was really cool just like getting exposure, meeting various people. Like those first few years was just like me like soaking everything up. Like, what is this? And then I started like, going to various conferences. There's a conference like called Startup Grind, and just to see like, I think it's really interesting when you see like all the startups that become billion-dollar companies, like when they were smaller, it's like, how did you get there? And so I started like doing my research on that, like, how did Airbnb become this like, billion-dollar company, all these things. And so now that I'm like working on it, I think one thing with Silicon Valley is it's really hard to break in like network wise. Especially in like the entrepreneurial space, like you have to know someone, and I feel like that's oftentimes like that in life. Yeah, exactly.
you have to make your own doors sometimes. And also, when you meet somebody, it's kind of like, even with the show, it's like, I met you through someone else, but I ain't know you was my frat brother. But the fact that I know that now, it's like,
Exactly.
oh, so I really did know him because I'm pretty sure one of my pros is gonna hit up like, hey man, you need to get him on the show. You know that's your frat. I'm like, what? So it's a small world. But
It's a big one.
I feel like a lot of us think that we ain't gonna be just if you open your mouth and communicate with somebody, bro, it gets you a long way. You know.
Exactly, man. Exactly. And so that's how I've gotten into a lot of, walked into a lot of these doors and a lot of opportunities I've had. But I would definitely say like Silicon Valley can be closed off sometimes, especially if you don't know anyone or, especially like say you're trying to pitch your company to venture capitalists to get like, investment funding. There's a lot of, it's like who you know. And so, I've been able to like kind of like break through into those kind of like spaces. And so that's been really cool. And I'm trying to, keep that door open so other people can like, come through.
I respect that, man. That's leading to the next question, though. It's the real question right here, man. So, what are you doing in order to, combat racism in the world of tech and in general?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things to combat racism in, the world of tech is to show up. Show up, be yourself. And I think that's like the biggest reason why, we need to be in these spaces, show up. And one thing I noticed too is that, a Black person in the workplace, it's like, I feel like, for people that are non-Black, they may see you as like, this is like the good Black person, so to speak, the good Black person. But, say they were to see you like walking down the street and they didn't know you, there's like this different perception. So it's like, I think a big piece for me is trying to like break down those stereotypes and say whether someone has a corporate job or not, their life matters. So though, like educating, and even though it's not, our job to do that in the workplace, because it's not, but I think
we have to. It's like
we have to, exactly. And I think that's why.
Type of change. Before I leave out, like I'm working to be a professor, and I go back and forth with my girlfriend and friends all the time. Like, hey man, they're like, hey man, are you gonna leave Tech completely? I'm like, that's why I started the show. And also, that's why I had the friends that I have and trying to build a network so that I can help, that Black face say, get to work, bro. Like, you at work, man. You good. Like, don't be stressing out. You have us. Like, you have a support, so.
Exactly. And so like increasing that exposure. And I think that's the cool thing about Overflow is that right now we're a 6-person team. And it's like we really have an opportunity to, like define like, what we want this company to become, the values, like we want it to be a diverse company, all those things, And so I think that's really cool. Like, because when you get to, 1,000, not even 1,000, like maybe like 50 plus people, if like, the initial, makeup of those 50 people, if it's not diverse, it's really hard to come back from that because people, they refer the people they know, and the people they know oftentimes look like them.
Yep, that's pretty much what it go like, man. And I feel like the things that you're doing, it is gonna bring some change because I feel like we don't have a problem hiring another guy that look different than us or woman that look different than us. I don't feel like we have that problem. I feel like it's just gonna mean that diversity factor to our team. We trying to get better. It's not a set person that's gonna make us better. It's like, hey, cool, whoever you are, man, as long as you have these values and then line up, this is how I'm gonna hire you. This is how I want the company to go. But I think you're the best fit. That's what the world got to start looking at. Like not just the color when you come in the door. Like, oh, you're a Black dude, man. Is it gonna work or is it not gonna work?
Yeah, it's that unconscious bias, in the back of their head.
It's like, hey, if it blow up in your face, let it blow up in your face, man. But more of the time, 9 times out of 10, it's not. As long as you train the person, you stay there. And remember, it's a job, and it's your job to help them get to a point of where they're at least close to what your knowledge point is, or even closer than it. And it's no problem with them being further than where they are. Because they may go out and start something of their own and still help you out. So you never know what can happen. You never know what can happen, man. So that's what we're supposed to really be doing. So what are some of your future plans and goals, man?
Yeah, so right now, future plans. So I'm out in the Bay Area working on Overflow. We just started working on like really like we publicly launched July 10th. So really, my plans for the near future is to grow this into a big company. Increase generosity, allow people to like get some critical mass that people are like donating stock. People can donate stock from their Robinhood account, all that stuff. So like right now we've had people like within our networks kind of like give through the platform to various nonprofits, but like really want to see that grow. So that's like the biggest thing, like and growing into that role of like, head of technology, overseeing the engineering operations. I would say future wise, I can totally see myself like, going back to Atlanta. I'm from Atlanta, love Atlanta, like no place like home. I got the Falcons hat on. Um,
Don't know
so
why, but all right.
you said what?
I said, don't know why, but all right. But look, hey, I
Oh,
got
dang. Are
Dion
you a
back there,
Saints
though.
fan?
I got Dion back there, so,
Okay,
I'm
got
a
you, got you,
Redskins
got
fan, though, man.
you.
Big,
You a what fan?
big time Redskins fan.
Oh, got you. The Washington football team these
Yeah,
days.
and whoever they are right now, I'm them.
Yeah, I got you. But yeah, so going back to Atlanta one day, I really want to help like the tech ecosystem out there. Like it's growing for sure, but I want to be able to like have programs like the ones that I grew up going to, like doing stuff like that. So that's kind of like my one of my dreams to do, like after the startup is like to go back, uh, have a program like that, just like feel the tech ecosystem there, maybe like an angel investor or something like that. But that's like down the line. That's when I got it like that.
Mhm. I'm with you on that though. Then I'm like, hey man, come into class real quick, man. Come to classroom. Teach a lecture real quick. You said you want to be an angel investor. Just invest in this real quick.
Exactly.
I'm with
Exactly.
that, man. I like that, man. So moving on, man. So like whose shoulders do you stand on? Like, and then what I mean on that, like, who helped you get where you are now?
Yeah, man, that's a great question. I've definitely had a lot of mentors along the way. I would definitely say first off, my parents, man, like, uh, very blessed that they, put me on this path. Like I said, they, spent their last to make sure I had these opportunities.
Mhm.
So, God's definitely blessed me with them. So I would say them. Um, I've had like, especially after my, I would say like some high school teachers I had, like, they're definitely the ones. I remember I was even afraid to apply to Georgia Tech because people were like, they have a high like fail out rate. Like a lot of people, don't make it at Georgia Tech just because it's so hard. And so I had like, mentors that encouraged me. They're like, you can do that. Like you can go to Georgia Tech. Like you can achieve there. And, I was able to do that. And so I would say those people that just poured into me that like changed my mindset. And then when it comes to like, business and stuff like that, I have like quite a few like Black entrepreneur friends that and like that are doing startups that, we're kind of at the same or they may be a few steps ahead of me, but it's like inspiration for me to like see them doing it, and it's like motivation to keep going. So like those are all the like I stand on their shoulders,
I respect
the
that.
shoulders of giants.
Yes, sir. I respect that, man. So what's your it factor, man? Why you do what you do?
My it factor, boom. What is my it factor? I would say my it factor, and I think this goes back to creating dope technology for the culture. It's like, being from Atlanta, being, immersed in Black culture in general. And, the Black culture gets shipped out and, you know, but being immersed in Black culture, but also like having this technology background, I would say just being able to merge the two, like, like being working at that intersection. I think that's my it factor. And that's really what makes me stand out because, I feel like you wouldn't expect like at least like your stereotypical software engineer. I'm not sure if you've seen the show Silicon Valley. On it's an HBO show. Yeah, like they're just like some super nerdy kids, right? And I'm not gonna say that I'm not like nerdy, quote unquote, but it's like I do the technology thing. I do, I code, software engineer, but I also have my ear to the streets. If that makes sense.
And with you, like I'm a whole software developer, man. Whole
Yeah.
engineer all day. You can call me anything you want. It's like cool, but I played sports
Yep.
one time in college.
Yep.
Took care of the business, man. Like that's how I got to where I am. Like, and that's why I
Exactly.
created the show. It's like I want to show dope black people that are doing this thing. 'Cause, like, don't get me wrong now. When I'm a nerd now, and it's
Yeah,
weird nerd. You know why? Because
exactly.
nerds get ahead. Nerds
Yeah,
make money, and nerds always gonna succeed, man. No matter what. Like that's that whole stigmatism of I'm a nerd. Da da da. I can't wait to make the shirt. Nerds
yeah,
succeed. Man. Like can't wait, man. That's gonna be amazing.
exactly. Like I saw one of your previous episodes. I saw you had like a former NFL cheerleader that so it's like she's a software engineer, but
Right.
all these various
Different.
everyone has these different experiences. So I think that's dope.
Yeah, it's crazy because like everybody I bring together, bro, it's like, dang, I can't believe I got so and so in here. And then to
Yeah,
hear them on the show, it kind of like, oh man, step my game up, man. I can do something else. Let me find. I never knew this is in computer science. Like I can do that type of job, So
yeah.
it's a blessing, man, to be a blessing. So it's always cool, man. Do you have any questions for me?
Yeah, I'm curious. Like, I know you asked me, like, what's my long term kind of like goal? I'm curious of your long term goals.
Mhm. So one of my big long term goals, I would say, as for the show, I look as for it to keep growing, kind of like Breakfast Club type thing.
Yeah,
In my description, I have, I want my tech business people, but also like any entrepreneur, anybody in the entertainment field, come on the show. We can chop it up, learn about their journey, and also, man, I want to get it to a point to where it even expands into the classroom where people just see the black face and say, "Hey, dang, man, that's so and so," or "Hey, I remember him talking to him. They
yeah,
doing it now." Or even when you have a big lunch, you say, "Hey, man, I'm a millionaire now." I can
yeah,
bring you on the show and say, "Hey, cool, you're a millionaire." You're like, you working with millionaires. I always want to grow that and let people know that's the thing that you can do for that. Then also, man, I want to, learn more about, tech, keep growing in my role I'm in now, or even move to another role before I become a full-time professor. So I'm
yeah.
working on that. And also just trying to do some stuff on the craft that I have now. I'm an author. Working on 2 comics now, and
Oh wow.
actually wrote them. My cousin is he's my artist, so he does all my work for me. So
Yeah,
me and him working co-hand on that. So I got a lot of different things in the work, but trying to just keep my head in on the right path to know what I want to do. So it's
yeah,
kind of always keep my balance and keeping the main thing the main thing.
yeah.
Uh,
No, I love that. No, that's awesome. Like you're killing it. Like, love the podcast, the It Factor.
Thank
Really
you,
like
man.
highlighting and showcasing like black people in technology. More people need to hear this.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So thank you for the show, bro. Thank you for the episode. I want you to hang on for a little while. Just
Okay.
recording. But thank you, man, so much. And that's the It Factor. Please like, comment, subscribe. I ain't did that in a while, so you go ahead. But thank you so much. So let me
Thank you.